Hello and welcome to Creative Pulse on S24 Television, where we celebrate the thinkers, dreamers, and doers in the creative industry and its future. Today, our spotlight is on a young creative whose journey proves that art and activism can coexist beautifully. We're having Ali Mamman Lawan, whose pen name is Ali Lawan, here in the studio today. And let me say, we're diving into what took Ali Lawan to the creative world and what was his inspiration. Ali, thank you for coming and welcome to Creative Pulse. It's a pleasure having you here.
Thank you for having me.
I am very sure viewers will love to know who Ali Lawan is and what he does.
Um, my name is Ali Mamman Lawan. I am a writer, an advocate, and sometimes spoken word artist. I studied accounting in Scala University, Nigeria, and I'm into um, the I'm into leadership. I'm a 2024 LMI fellow and a global shaper. So that's pretty much.
Okay, he studied accounting. He's a spoken word artist, a writer, an activist, and a youth leader. If you listen, he mentioned he was a fellow of the Legislative Mentorship Initiative. If I could recall, you served as a clerk in your parliament.
That's correct.
That's 2024.
2024, yes.
Exactly. Thank you for coming. Let's go deep into what you do and your journey. You launched your debut novel the day you were graduating.
Yes.
It's both symbolic and let me say inspiring. But would love to know what made you have that thought that okay, I'm graduating today, let me release this book today. And if I am sure, the name of the book is Tears on a Red Rose. Exactly. So what was your inspiration? What made you think this is the right time for me to release that book? What was going on in your mind on that day, and how did the moment shape your creative journey?
Okay, so firstly, the inspiration of the book was a trip. We had come to Abuja with my family, and it was New Year, and it was the first time, a boy from Yusufari and then living in Kano coming to Abuja for New Year, and there was fireworks. So we were all staying up late, to watch the fireworks, and I I remember I was writing in an exercise book then. It wasn't even a laptop. I wanted to write a book about family, and it somehow ended up being about two sisters who just went on a roller coaster journey to find each other. And I can say that the timing for the book itself, publishing, the plan for publishing the book, it was supposed to come earlier than
Your
the
graduation.
graduation, because I wrote the book in JSS3, so it took 3 years between finishing the book and actually publishing the book. I remember the plan for having it launched on my graduation was actually suggested by one of my teachers, Mr. Shaw, my literature teacher. I showed him the book. He was so excited, and he was like, "We have to launch the book here in the school on the graduation
We
day." And I was
cannot
like,
allow that cool talent to leave the school premises. And if I can say, you've told us the inspiration behind Tears on a Red Rose. How do you see storytelling as a tool for social or political change as a young activist or a young leader?
I think storytelling is present in almost everything we do in the political space, climate change. We just have different forms, and people struggle to understand certain forms of it. But when you come down to art and literature and that kind of storytelling, it's something that a lot of people can connect with. It's kind of like social media, there are billions of people on social media because, everyone
Yeah.
knows how to operate a phone and handles notifications and etc. So when a lot of people connect with something, it automatically becomes a platform that can be used to shape their lives and push policies and effect positive change. So I see storytelling playing a very big role in that aspect.
You move between literature, spoken word, and activism seamlessly. Like sometimes if I see you doing something, I'll be like, oh, Ali is doing well. But how do you balance creativity with advocacy?
So it's creativity has always been a part. It has been there since I was young, and I do understand the sometimes you get. I think the term for it is there's really no balance. Balance is a myth. So sometimes it all depends on the time. Sometimes you're in the creative space, sometimes you're high on muse and you're writing, sometimes advocacy calls you and you are at a boy child conference or you're at a global shaper meeting. So I think you just have to sometimes go with the flow, but try to always carry along the identities that shape you and the identities that you want to present to the society and the identities that matter to your goals.
Let's go to your journey through leadership, please. You are a co-lead at Pace Nigeria. And sometimes, you know how leadership is. There is policy, there is policy engagement, there is leadership approach, and there is you as a creative. What is one thing that like influence your background in this three cycle? The leadership focus, the policy engagement, and your creative life.
So I think one thing that connects all these three is just the desire to help or make an impact, and that's present in all three. With creativity, you can do that with telling stories, with policies, with advocacy. It's all about the people. It's all about making a positive impact, and I think that's what we are trying to do in Pace Nigeria as well, especially with young people. So they are coming up and they also want to give back to their societies and create a positive impact. We are in a pivotal point in Nigeria where we really need um, people to give back instead of just taking. You know, we had independence recently, and I saw quotes like, okay, what has your country done for you? The lead of Pace, yeah, my very good friend, he posted, okay, not what your country has done for you, what
What
have
had
you
you
done?
contributed? I saw
What
that also.
exactly? What
Yeah.
have you contributed to your country? So I think that's what connects all these three. It's a contribution.
In every career, there is challenges. And the challenge in creative industry, I think, is something that shows on people's face. What was your challenge and like how do you navigate through it?
So one of the challenges is that okay, people say okay, who will read your books? People don't read. You know, they don't take literature seriously, and but I really did not put much focus on that. I think one of the main things is you have to trust in your craft. Of course, one of the major challenges you face starting off is finding an environment. So I started off the journey very lonely. I started off alone and very young. There were not many creatives around me. I was just, dabbling. But now we have a lot of platforms. Then they were very minimal, but now we have a lot of platforms. You see people, Capfest, Hibaf, FLP. The creative space is kind of booming now.
Evolving, yeah.
So yeah, that challenge is kind of being addressed in a way. And I think one of the challenges I also faced is where to go in terms of poetry and prose. So a lot of people know me as a poet, but actually I started prose first. I started prose very, very young. But now, because poetry has this spotlight and it's fast, you can write a poem in a minute, you can perform it in a few minutes, you're trending. But it takes you almost 6 years to write a book or a novel.
I know someone might be asking, what's the difference between a poet and what was the difference between poetry and a prose? I don't think. Do you mind highlighting?
Sure. So when we say prose writing, we're essentially talking about, books, novels, a story that is with characterization, with settings and everything. Poetry is a sort of compressed form of language that has brevity and has stanzas. So it can appear on a page, it can be a few lines, but it's deep, it's the kind of language that really touches you. But prose, we're talking pages of stories. So I think one of the challenges is carrying along these two and identifying myself with them.
Like, if I let me put it in a way, like identity crisis. Yeah, where do you want to be identified? Are you a prose writer or you're a poetry writer?
Exactly.
And I think here I want to ask you, as the creative industry is evolving, there are people you definitely have been looking up to right from childhood to date. I want you to mention three that you think, okay, these are the most influential people I think have shaped my path as a writer and a change maker.
Okay, so in the creative industry, it's very hard to name three when a lot of people have shaped you. But I would say Dr. Maria Sidi would be one of the first on my list. She's the founder of FLP, and FLP happens to be one of the first platforms that I joined, and that's where I got to groom my poetry as well. She's someone I really look up to because she somehow balances between her medical career and her poetry, and she writes
Wow.
very, very beautifully. And I would say, you know, I'm tempted to mention my friends. I don't want
No,
to.
no,
No friends.
no friends.
No friends. Okay, the creative industry. There's Kalb Salim. I look for I admire Kalb Salim.
No, Cap Salim, I don't know why. He loves poems. Is he love poems, I will say. And like, I think, let me keep quiet before Cap sue me.
Yeah, Kalb has his I have to mention that his spoken word Yours Sincerely was my inspiration to getting into spoken word.
Wow.
And I told him and he was like, wow, I didn't know. But he's someone even beyond the creative space, he's a very influential figure and I really look up to him. And then it's very hard to mention just three. I'm just thinking about so many other people. But yeah, I would go with Antina Siba as the third person. She's the curator of the last Cap Fest 2.0, the Kano
Yeah,
International
International
Poetry
Poetry.
Festival. And
Yeah.
Antina Siba has been doing so much for the poetry space. And she also sells books. She's a medical lab official at AKTH. And
Is he a must for these creative people to be from a medical background or what? And I think one thing I would love to say is I was expecting you to mention one person, which everyone around you know who that person is. But since you did not mention, I will not be the one to say it. And you know who I am talking about exactly.
I can have a guess. She's
Yes,
my mentor.
she is
Yeah.
a she, so I don't want to
That's
mention
why
her
I
name.
said you have to give me more slots.
No, I don't want to give you more slot. Okay, we are part of the northern Nigeria, and we know what it means to stand out in the north in every aspect of the creative industry. How do you think the north is evolving creatively? You mentioned some earlier, but I would love you to take it in depth. Like, what is the north doing differently to the creative industry?
I think the North is bringing a lot of culture and a strength and creativity to the industry. We have a certain kind of flair in the North. I think we've seen that even from the cultural carnivals at ABU, and there's just something very, very powerful about telling our own stories, especially when they have not been in the limelight before. So we are at a point in our literature where, okay, we need stories from the North. We need to tell our own stories. And, when we talk about literature in Nigeria, the North has been kind of lagging. But the North is so rich. There's so much to tap into and so many stories to tell. Even with the recent book by Nana Sule, Not So Terrible People, how she really dabbled into the magical realism, Aljanu, and so many. There's no shortage of stories to tell in the North. So I think we are beginning to realize that, and we are having so many people coming into the space with those fresh eyes and fresh muses and fresh ideas, and just that northern flair to add to it. So we're looking forward to goals.
Recently, I don't know if you've seen it, you mentioning about saying the story of northern Nigeria differently. To be one of the social media influencers from Lagos, he came to the north, explored the north, and tell stories that we ourselves overlooked. And I think I can clearly understand with you when you say there is like a north flair and there are so many things we can tap into and stories we can tell. You have performed on stages,
Yes.
Vivav, Cafest, and the ones I don't even know about. Whenever you are, whenever you are on stage, there is something about audience that I noticed. Like they pay attention. Is it that you're passing a message to them, or I don't know? Is there something is there a sort of message in your poetry that you feel you are leaving young people with?
Yeah, so whenever I'm on stage, one of my most mainest goals is to really connect with the audience. I feel like there's no point stepping onto the stage and stepping off without people perceiving what you're trying to say or taking away something, even if it's just a feeling, even if it's not a natural concrete message, or even if it's just a feeling, they have taken away something. So you have to give your audience something. And especially with poetry, where people usually say, okay, big words, complexity, poetry should be complex and why. But when it comes to the stage, it's really up to you, the artist, to break down and communicate with your audience. So I always want to create a poem, a piece. Whenever I'm crafting a piece, it's always about one question: can the audience relate with this? If my answer is yes, then I think I'm good to go.
That's very powerful. So you're using it to capture us, and I think here we've got you. There is something my boss do. She call it rapid fire.
Okay.
She will ask you to choose between so many things. So here in the creative space, I'll ask you to choose writing. Oh, sorry, not writing. I know you will choose writing definitely. Music or movies.
Movies.
Wow. Okay. Fiction or non-fiction.
Fiction.
And I think let's go to the last part of that rapid fire. If you had to choose, between Nana Sule and Adhan Islam, who will you choose?
This one is so tough.
Yes,
So tough.
you have to choose one person. I don't want consideration, like just one person.
And I have to.
Yes, you have to choose Nana Sule or Adhan Islam.
Yeah, they're my favorite. Both of them.
No,
I'll go with Alhan.
definitely. I know that's who you're going to be choosing. And I think it takes me to my last question. Between your civic roles, writing, and performance, how do you stay grounded and consistent in your creative process?
So the creative process is it's a whirlwind. It's a whirlwind because you can go a week writing poems every day, and then you can go a month with no muse. But I think one of the most important things to remember is your identity is always there, and the world is ready to hear you wherever you need to speak. So I think that remembering all these things keeps you grounded. And especially when you have, I think for creatives, it's important to be intentional. Being intentional, treating literature like any other project. I think that's what I learned. I cross over from my civic roles, advocacy, into the creative space, because the civic roles, they need planning. We are still in the planning stages of pace, so they need intentionality and they need planning. So if you can bring some of that intentionality and planning into your creative process, sometimes you have to force things. You can start a poem and 5 lines, you don't feel like you want to write it anymore. But sometimes you have to push. And with books as well, prose is very, very hard to keep up with. But if you can bring some of that intentionality and planning, I think it will help you be grounded.
What's next for Ali Lawan?
Global shapers.
I don't understand global shapers. Like, is there any project we should be expecting, a book or an initiative that you think is coming soon?
So I said global shapers because that's the next step in the civic aspect.
Okay.
I recently got accepted into the Abuja hub, and we are looking forward to so many more projects. But if you're asking about literature, then you should be expecting more poetry, more prose. I'm not going to let up on either of them.
How do you handle creative block?
Creative block. So I handle them very differently for the two genres, for poetry and for prose. For poetry, I really don't have a concrete way. I actually wait for the muse. I actually really need to connect with my emotions and my environment in order to write. So when that doesn't happen, I just try to, remove that. Instead of focusing on the poetry itself, you have to remove the surrounding, the mental blocks,
Yeah.
Maybe go for a walk, maybe meet up a friend, just kind of free yourself. The words are actually inside you. There's just something perhaps that's stopping them from coming out. for prose, I don't really pay much attention to the mental sides of things, because I treat it like any other project. I just have to hit this word count, 200 words. But sometimes it doesn't work as well, and you have to treat it like poetry. You have to clear your head. So it's all about reconnecting with yourself. It's all about freeing your mind and maybe having some tea or yahuza or suya or something.
Okay, thank God you're the one that saved, not me. And I think at this point, I will say thank you very much for coming to S24 TV, and we look forward to having you to discuss more of the creative industry. At this point, I want to say thank you everyone for watching. This is Creative Pulse on S24 Television. My name is Samira Usman Aden, and I will be your host for this amazing show all the time. Thank you.